Brothers, please gather together. Come closer, inshallah. Before we start, brother told me that he found these glasses in the wudu area. So if someone lost his glasses, please, right here. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about the great season that is about to be upon us. It's the great month of Ramadan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Muslim Ummah with, as He also blessed the other Ummah before Ramadan, before the Muslim Ummah, by fasting. So one unique aspect about fasting is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory, not only on the Muslim Ummah, that specific ibadah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory on the other Ummah before, or the other nations before the nation of Islam, before our nation, before our Ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. O who you believe, Siyam has been prescribed upon you as it was prescribed upon the nations before you, so that you achieve piety or taqwa. So the ultimate goal, as specified by the ayah for Siyam, is achieving taqwa or piety. Observing the month of Ramadan reflects the great obedience of the Muslim, of the believer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it invites the great pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His unlimited reward. Subhanallah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet talks about the rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised for the different acts of worship, the Prophet said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to multiply the reward for the Muslim's deed up to 700 times. And then the Prophet poses and he said, Allah said, now he's narrating from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Siyam is something that is special for me. It's something that I'm going to reward in a special way. Because my servant left his, or parted with his bodily desires and pleasures for my own sake. And as such, I'm going to reward him in my own way. The ulama said this means that the reward of Siyam is unlimited. It's not up to 700 times, it's not up to 1,000 times or 10,000 times. It's an unlimited amount of reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's an open sale. It's a season with an open sale for forgiveness, an open sale for mercy. And also, as a special reward for the Muslims who observe fasting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant them a great honor in the Day of Judgment, so that they will enter the Jannah from a special gate, from a special door that was created for the Muslims who observe fasting in the month of Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ said that inna fil jannati baban. There is a gateway, there is a door of the Jannah, which has 8 doors, by the way. It's called Ar-Rayyan. La yadkhuluhu illa as-saimun. It's only Muslims who used to observe fasting, they will be permitted to enter from that door. And after they enter, it will be locked, and no one else will be permitted to enter. This is a special status, and this is a special mercy, a special blessing. The Prophet ﷺ said, the unblessed, the person who is unblessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the person who had the chance, who was alive through the month of Ramadan. He had the chance to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that month, and he failed to attain the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as if there's Siyam, in the Arabic language, by the way, it means to abstain from a certain action. That's the original meaning in the Arabic language. And as you remember, if you recite the Quran, and one theme of my talk is about Quran. The main theme, as a matter of fact, because the month of Ramadan is the month of Al-Quran. It's the month in which Al-Quran was revealed. But one meaning of the word Sama in the Arabic language is to abstain from doing a certain action. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about Maryam, فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. When people approach you, then you say that I vow to fast, and I'm not going to talk to any person today. Zakaria, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the good tidings of Yahya alayhi salam, he wanted a sign of the time, when the time approaches, the time of Yahya approaches. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس ثلاث ليال سويا. Then your sign would be to not to be able to address people for 3 days. And this is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for Zakaria not to be able to speak to the people, this is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you read the Arabic poetry, you will find so many references to the word Sama in the Arabic language to mean to abstain from a certain action. But in the Islamic Sharia, of course, Siyam is to abstain from food, from drinking, from sexual intercourse, from the time of dawn to the time of sunset. And in our deen, by the way, brothers and sisters, there are two dawns. There's what we call the fake dawn, and there's what we call the true dawn, al-Fajr al-Sadiq and al-Fajr al-Kadhib. And that's why in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when you hear Bilal raising the adhan, keep on eating until you hear Ibn Maktoum raising the adhan. Then you have to pray and you have to start your fasting. So al-Fajr al-Kadhib, it's basically the first dawn that comes out vertically in the horizon, does not spread horizontally in the horizon, but vertically, and then it will be followed by darkness. And then al-Fajr al-Sadiq will come out, which is the true dawn, and it is then when the Muslims are supposed to start their fasting. As I said, Siyam was ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Muslims to attain taqwa. And if you want to talk about the benefits and the merits and the virtues of Siyam, you can talk for days and nights. And you will not come to an end. But I'm going to name a few for our remembrance as believers. First of all, the Siyam is the ultimate method for molding the human character so that it becomes resilient to evil temptations and to satanic whispering. This is, if you want the ultimate way to do that, the ultimate way to achieve that, it is through Siyam. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith addressing the youth, he said, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, O youth, O young people, if one of you can afford the responsibilities of getting married, then he should get married. If he cannot afford that, then he should resort to fasting, because it is his ultimate shield. It is his ultimate shield against the temptations of the shaitan. It's his ultimate shield against his nafs and the whispering of the shaitan and the temptations of his nafs. This is one of the first benefits of the Siyam. Iman. Because as-sabr, patience, is half of Iman, Siyam is half of patience, then Siyam is 1/4 of Iman. It's indeed the most potent means of teaching, nurturing the virtue of patience and content in the mu'min is Siyam. There's no question about that. So, teaches the Muslim to persevere against all sorts of calamities, all sorts of deprivations, to be resilient to that. It is Siyam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ordained Siyam for all nations because this ibadah achieves its purpose throughout all the ages of humanity. It works out for all humanity, for all ages. In the early ages, in the late ages, this ibadah, it's very important. It achieves the purpose of taqwa. It achieves the purpose of molding the human character. It achieves the purpose of teaching the Muslim and nurturing the attributes of patience and contentment in the Muslim. It also enhances the virtue of honesty in the Muslim. He remains conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in secret and in public. It strengthens the Muslim's will, and it elevates his aspiration. He has the will to break from his daily, his mundane habits in the month of Ramadan. Subhanallah. In the month of Ramadan, you feel as if you are living in a different time. And then, unfortunately, we go back to our reality after the month of Ramadan, which we should stay actually. We should stay. We should keep up our habits and customs during the month of Ramadan. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, if my ummah knows how virtuous the month of Ramadan is, they would wish that the whole year would be Ramadan. Talking about myself, how Ramadan teaches discipline, teaches order, teaches the person to be organized. I am always in Ramadan on a tight schedule. I cannot spare 1 minute in Ramadan. I have a tight schedule. Wake up in the morning for Fajr prayer. Before that, for suhoor. I cannot go back to sleep because I have to go to my work, come back early from work because I have other things to do. I have to read my juzr from the Quran. I have to review what I memorized. In reading the juzr, I have also to refresh my memory about the tafsir of that juzr. Because in the month of Ramadan, we should be adamant about not only reading the Quran, but also understanding the Quran. Always have a tafsir book besides you. Start with a simple tafsir. Whenever you read your juzr, then review the tafsir. At least the meanings of the words in the Quran. Then, by that time, the breakfast time is approaching. Now, in eating breakfast, I'm not like enjoying myself because I'm looking forward to Salat al-Tarawih. Then you have to go for Salat al-Tarawih. You pray Tarawih. Alhamdulillah, you make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you make qiyam, which is an integral part of Ramadan because the Prophet said, "Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban." Whoever observes qiyam in Ramadan. Qiyam includes, but is not limited to Salat al-Tarawih. So Salat al-Tarawih is part of qiyam in Ramadan, but you add Salat al-Tarawih other actions also, like tahajjud, like reciting the Quran during the night of Ramadan, making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making istighfar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all qualifies as qiyam in Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man qama Ramadan," whoever observes organized. It teaches the Muslim the importance of the time. And that's why many Muslims, subhanAllah, the Ramadan ends and they relax. They say, let's go back to our normal life. You know? And the normal life for a Muslim should be, or the model for the normal life for the Muslim should be his life during the month of Ramadan. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, as we mentioned. The month of Ramadan also enhances the feeling of unity in the Muslim Ummah. Can you imagine the Muslim Ummah all over the globe, especially if the Muslim Ummah fast together and break the fast together? You are not doing this ibadah this time by yourself. You know that 1.2 billion Muslims are fasting when you are fasting. This is a great sense of unity. This is a great sense of unity in a sense that wherever you are living, all over the globe, you feel united with your Muslim brothers. We feel as one ummah, especially in that month. You call your brother back home. What did you have for breakfast today? Where did you pray Tarawih yesterday? Did you pray Tarawih yesterday or you did not pray Tarawih? This is the subject of conversation of Ramadan. Outside of Ramadan, what is the subject of conversation? We go back to our mundane discussions and daily discussions outside of Ramadan. When did you get up today? Did you have suhoor today? You know, that's the subject of discussion. And this is something that is shared by the whole Ummah at large. So Ramadan teaches the Ummah unity, and that's why the madhab Jumhur ulama, Jumhur fuqaha, that the Muslim Ummah should observe fasting on one day and break fasting on one day, and regardless of seeing the moon different times. Whenever a person, a Muslim, anywhere on the globe observes the moon, sights the moon, and he reports that the whole Muslim Ummah must observe fasting according to the madhab of Jumhur ulama. The Prophet ﷺ said, صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا لرؤيته فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30 يوما. Now this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, صوموا, observe the fasting or start the fasting when you see the crescent. When you see the crescent, the Sharia is very simple, we make it very difficult on ourselves. So, when you see the crescent, observe the fasting. And when you see the crescent at the end of Ramadan, you break the fasting. When you see, to whom the address is, whom the Prophet is addressing. Is he addressing the people of Mecca, or the people of Medina, or the people of Islamabad, or the people of Jerusalem, or the people of Medina? No. He's addressing the Muslims at large. So this address is a general address, meaning all Muslims, whenever you see them. And it means that, not every Muslim is going to see them. And that's why the Sharia, taught us that whenever a Muslim, a credible Muslim, man or woman comes with a testimony that I've seen the moon, then the whole Muslim Ummah should start the fasting. And when a Muslim man or woman, according to Madhab al-Jumhur, some of the ulama said we need 2 witnesses to break the fast. But that's a different story. The issue here is that Jumhur al-ulama, the majority of the scholars, they are of the opinion that the Muslim Ummah all over the globe must start the fasting in one day. Islam actually prohibits anything that breaks the unity of the Muslim Ummah. That's prohibited, that's taboo in Islam. Anything that breaks the unity or weakens the unity in the Muslim Ummah is prohibited in Islam. It's so great to the extent that the Prophet ﷺ said that unity in the Muslim Ummah. He said, الصوم يوم تصومون والفطر يوم تفطرون والأضحى يوم تضحون. By definition, the first day of Ramadan is when the Muslim Ummah decides that it is the first day of Ramadan. Right or wrong? By definition. When the Muslim Ummah decides that we are going to fast today, this day becomes the first day of Ramadan. When the Muslim Ummah decides that we are going to break the fasting on this day becomes the first day of Shawwal, by definition. Whether it was decided by, rightly or erroneous. It doesn't matter. Why is that? Because this is what matters. And for the whole ummah to observe the fasting on one day, for the whole ummah to break the fasting on one day. That, that feeling of unity, that is what matters most according to the Sharia. It nurtures the feeling of mercy, of the virtue of mercy, the virtue of compassion, the virtue of solidarity between the Muslims. Now we have famines all over the place. We have drought in Somalia. We have people who are suffering, and you watch the TV and you say, Alhamdulillah. But at the same time, there's a question that is nagging at you. Why is it him that is suffering? Why is it not me? And it could be me, it could be you, it could be anyone, right? And that should remind us with the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. And also, should remind us that there is a heavy duty on our back. That we should stand up to that. That these Muslims, not only Muslims, these human beings who are suffering are our collective responsibility. And in Ramadan, when the Muslim experience hunger, outside Ramadan, you go to your work, you grab a cup of coffee from here, a cup of tea, snack, you don't feel it. As a matter of fact, subhanAllah, when you know that you can eat at any time, you can fast the whole day without it. When you know that it's in your power, see the discipline that Allah teaches you. Once you know that you are fasting the day, then your feeling, right, your attitude changes. Your attitude changes. So this month should remind us, and it is actually, one of the virtues of this month is that it reminds us, it increases our compassion to our brothers and sisters, to our fellow human beings who are suffering. Because this deen is the deen of mercy, this deen is the deen of compassion. In addition to all these virtues that are related to our deen, that are related to the human character, molding the human character, that are related to achieving and attaining the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and achieving His forgiveness, getting His forgiveness. In addition to that, of course, there are so many benefits that can be achieved or that can be obtained from Ramadan. It revitalizes the human health. Subhanallah. In Ramadan, you feel healthy. You feel more active. If you are lazy outside Ramadan, during the month of Ramadan, you feel, you get over your laziness. You feel energetic. You want to do stuff. You want to accomplish. You are not busy. One thing that I noticed in myself, my visits to the bathroom are at their lowest minimum. I can have wudu on the day of Ramadan in the morning, and I can pray Maghrib, wudu as-subh, Fajr. are forming that jihad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indeed has blessed us with the month of Ramadan. And, you know, no matter what I say, I cannot actually, as I said, you know, in the beginning, I cannot speak of all the virtues of this month in 1 hour or 2 hours or a whole day. But let me, before I finish, let me tell you about a few hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that were narrated describing the virtues of this month. By the way, the month of Ramadan was, or the Siyam was made obligatory, or it was legislated for Muslims, or ordained for Muslims in the second year of the Hijrah, as you all know. By the way, when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, he found that the Jewish community in Medina was fasting the day of Ashura, which is the 10th day of Al-Muharram, because it is the day in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Musa, نحن أولى بموسى منكم. Musa is actually one of us. We have a closer relationship to Musa than them. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered the Muslims to fast the day of Ashura. So as fasting the day of Ashura in the first year of the Hijrah was obligatory for the Muslims. It was ordained by the Prophet ﷺ for the Muslims to fast the day of Ashura, which is the 10th of Al-Muharram. In the second year of the Hijrah, Ramadan was made, the Siyam of Ramadan was prescribed. And in the beginning, by the way, even the Siyam of Ramadan was not obligatory. In the beginning. Even the Siyam of Ramadan was not obligatory. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the first ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah that is talking about the Siyam of Ramadan, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات, a countable number of days. فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر, whoever was sick or on travel, then he has to make up a few days, the days that he broke the fast in from other days after Ramadan. وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. Now, when you read this ayah, you should contemplate the meaning of the ayah. وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين. And those who can afford to fast but choose not to fast, they can do so. They have the option not to fast, but they have to feed a poor person. So this was the original ruling of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, fast Ramadan, and you have the option still. If you do not want to fast, you feed one miskin per day, and you have the option of breaking the fast. That was the original ruling. Now the next ayah, Surah Al-Baqarah, came and abrogated the first ayah. The next ayah comes and says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن الأول before Ramadan. So how many Ramadans? 9 Ramadans. So Ramadan was prescribed in the second year of the Hijrah, and the Prophet ﷺ fast in his life 9 Ramadans. Now, Al-Tabarani, one of the Muhaddithin, said in his book from the Prophet ﷺ, narrated from the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Ramadan is upon you. He was addressing the Muslims. Ramadan is upon you, a month of blessing and mercy. A month of blessing and bounty, in which the mercy and blessings of Allah engulfs you, accompanied with His forgiveness of sins, and accompanied with His answering with your supplication and dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala observes your competition in this month and brags about it. Subhanallah. Competition, what we call tanafus, is something that is recommended when it is tanafus in al-a'mal as-salih, good deeds. Tanafus that does not entail any envy or hasad, right? When you see your Muslim brother reading the Quran, you know it's good for you to be motivated to read more than him. That's fine, with the right intention, not showing off that you are reading more. When you see your brother giving sadaqah, this should motivate you to give sadaqah. When you see your brother, in Ramadan, observing all these ibadat, qiyam al-layl, coming to the tarawih every night, coming to the fajr prayer every night, giving charity, making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, istighfar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reading the Quran, this should motivate you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to this hadith, would be watching and observing that competition. And He would be bragging about us, about these competitors, in front of the angels. Bragging. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, be keen to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be keen to live according to the standards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from you. You see? Don't turn Him down. Don't disappoint Him in this month, because He's watching us compete in our ibadah, so we should not let Him down. The Prophet ﷺ also said about Ramadan, when Ramadan comes, the gates of the Jannah will be open, and the gates of hellfire will be locked, and the shayateen will be shackled. And this hadith was narrated by Imam Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said the five prayers being the time between each prayer and the next prayer is a kafar. It's an expiation of all the sins between these two prayers. And the time between Friday prayer and the next Friday prayer is an expiation of all sins between the two Fridays. And the time between Ramadan and the next Ramadan is an expiation of all the sins between these two Ramadans. As long as the Muslim avoids the most severe sins, al-kabair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the Muslim ummah, that's because of His greatness subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy and His ibad, that if a Muslim avoid al-kabair, if the Muslim avoids these great sins, like a zina, like a riba, like a being disobedient to your parents, all these, what we know about, all these 7 big sins and some additional, with other big sins that the ulama also, added to the list, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all the little sins. If you are adamant and very keen about avoiding the big sins. The Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, and this hadith I mentioned in the beginning, every good deed of Bani Adam is multiplied. The son of Adam is multiplied up 700 times, 700 multiples, except for believer, when he fasts, he has two occasions of happiness. When he breaks his fast and when he meets with his Lord. And the Prophet ﷺ said, narrating from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the scent or the odor of the mouth of the Muslim, who is when he's fasting, is more beloved, it's more beautiful than the scent of musk. And by the way, this hadith motivated Imam Shafi'i to say that you cannot use siwak if you are fasting. It is makruh for you to use siwak after zawal, after when the sun reaches the zenith. It's makruh, it's disliked for you to use the siwak, because when you use the siwak or you brush your teeth, you get rid of that odor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes as being more beautiful. This scent is more beautiful than more lovely than the scent of musk. Right. And so many other so many other hadith that I can talk about. I want to open the platform for discussion. If you have any questions about the month of Ramadan, I'll be happy to address them. But before I do that, as I said, you can talk about so many things, but let me mention one special attribute of the month of Ramadan, and let me make it the theme of this night. It's the month that contains Laylatul Qadr. It's the month that contains Laylatul Qadr, and this is the night in which the Quran was revealed. It means this is the night in which the revelation of the Quran started. Okay? And some of the ulama said it means that the revelation started in that night in the month of Ramadan, and some other ulama said that the whole Quran actually the whole Quran descended in its totality to the first firmament, or the first sky, and then it was gradually, revealed to Muhammad ﷺ. But it descended in its totality in that night to the first sky, and then gradually after that, over the 23 years, it was gradually revealed to Muhammad ﷺ. This is a great night that the ibadah, the worship in this night, the reward of the worship in this night is more than worshiping 1,000 months. Can you imagine worshiping, observing one night and getting the reward of 1,000 months of worship? That is Laylatul Qadr, khayrun min alfi shahr. Most of the scholars of Islam, they say, it is in the last odd days, 10 days, the odd days, the odd nights of Ramadan, the nights of the odd days of Ramadan, in the last 10 days, okay? And most likely it is on the 27th, the night of the 27th, as we observe it here, because of so many hadith. There's a wisdom behind not revealing the exact time of Laylatul Qadr, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the Muslims to treat each night in the last 10 nights as if every one of them is Laylatul Qadr. Can you imagine? It's like motivation to us. Okay? Because we don't know which one it is. Okay? So let's perform equally in the last 10 nights. You see? So if you do it, if you perform equally in terms of ibadah in the last 10 nights, then you are bound to meet Laylatul Qadr at one of the nights, right? There's no question. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ did not specify, because if you say, okay, if the Prophet said Laylatul Qadr is indeed the 27th night, then the Muslims will pay more attention to that night and they will relax during the other nights. So there was a reason, but many of the ulama insist actually it's on the 27th. Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu anhu said about Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said that Ibn Mas'ud knew, meaning that I am aware of it, Ubay ibn Ka'b is aware of it, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is aware of it, that it is indeed the night of the 27th day of Ramadan, but he did not reveal it for you because he did not want you to rely on that. He did not reveal it, he did not tell you that. That is a hadith that the Tirmidhi narrated. There's a hadith that also from Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ said about Laylatul Qadr, it is the night of the 27th This hadith was narrated by Abu Dawood. Abu Dawood said that it is a statement of Muawiyah and it's not elevated all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. However, such a statement from a Sahabi, such as according to the ulama, when a Sahabi said something like that, this is something that cannot be known except through revelation. And that's why the ulama said that, meaning that when a Sahabi says such a statement that, the Laylatul Qadr is at 27, where did he bring this information from? It has to be coming from where? From the Prophet ﷺ. So they say that al-Rafa. But still, there's a great debate about, which night is Laylatul Qadr. We should not make that debate our, priority. Our priority should be, okay, it is one of the last odd nights, 10 nights. Let's observe it. Let's observe it in every night of the last odd nights. And we are bound to hit the mark, right? If we do so. Let's not just rely on what people, always do, which is pay more attention to the 27th night. No, let's do it. Let's pay more attention, special attention to the last 10 days. The Prophet ﷺ used to treat the last 10 days special. He will avoid women completely. So the last 10 days, the Prophet ﷺ, his worship, he performs special. His performance becomes more special in the last 10 days in terms of, increasing his acts of worship, in terms of, turning away from all daily pleasures or all the dunya pleasures and focusing on the acts of worship. In the last 10 days, he makes it a special, period of time. Also, the i'tikaf, of course, in Ramadan, comes in the last 10 days. The Prophet ﷺ used to seek solitude and i'tikaf in the masjid, in the last 10 days of Ramadan. It's a highly rewardable act. The Prophet ﷺ described Ramadan as the first third of Ramadan is rahmah, is mercy. The second third of Ramadan is maghfirah, is forgiveness. And the third and the last third of Ramadan is itqun min an-nar. So this is like, I did not want to get much into the fiqh rulings. Hopefully, if you have questions, we will address those. If you don't, I'm going to touch upon the most important fiqh rulings in Ramadan without getting into much details into other fiqh rulings. If you have specific questions, please raise them at any point. Do not wait until the end. Let's have it like an interactive discussion. The first, any questions before I start?
Okay, two things. First, we talked about the beginning and starting, you should start in unity. So wherever it's cited in the world,
Yes.
even though we have the time zone or the difference, great difference in time. So
Yes.
if somebody was in Russia, they saw it, it'll be almost 24 hours.
Yes. So, according to the Jamhur of the Fuqaha, this is immaterial. Because according to the Jamhur, which are 3 out of the 4 Imams, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik ibn Anas, Imam Ahmad, they say that the matter that the moon has different, it appears at different times, is immaterial. If any Muslim, anytime, anywhere on the globe observed the moon and he reported that, then the next day would be Ramadan. Now, if you want to restrict that, to the Muslim world, the maximum difference between, the 2 extreme countries in the Muslim world that are, the farthest countries from each other, the largest difference is 9 hours only between, like India and Pakistan and, Morocco and, Tunisia. Between East and West, the largest difference is 9 hours, which means that Muslim countries actually share parts of the same night. Which means that if any Muslim observes the moon and he reports that I've seen the moon, and these days you can report via internet, via phone. very simple to convey and relay that piece of information, then all the Muslim Ummah must observe fasting in one day, and all the Muslim Ummah must break fasting in one day. The Prophet ﷺ made it easy. He said, so fast when you see it, break the fasting when you see it, the whole Ummah. And if you did not see it for some reason, because the skies were cloudy, for example, if you did not see it, then they make an estimate. What does make an estimate mean? It means what was clearly stated in the other narration of the hadith, because this hadith has two narrations, and the two narrations are authentic. That's the other narration of the hadith says, if you were clouded, if you could not see it, then finish the count of Sha'ban 30 days, and then start Ramadan. That's simple and that easy. So, on the 29th day of Sha'ban, we go and observe the moon. Or we rely on some people, it's obligatory on the Ummah to go outside and observe the moon. We cannot just rely on the calendar. We cannot, it has to be observed. It's fard kifaya. It's obligatory on the congregation. It's a collective duty. Okay? We cannot just say we're not going to observe it whatsoever. We can't say that the calendar say, well, according to the calendar it's that day. But on the 29th day of Sha'ban, some Muslims, wherever they are, need to go out and observe the moon, sight the moon. If they sight it, then the next day is the beginning of Ramadan. If there was no report whatsoever that the moon was sighted, meaning that Muslims tried all over the place to sight the moon, no one saw sight the moon, then the next day will be the 30th day of Sha'ban, and the day after will be the beginning of Ramadan. That is the opinion of the Jamhur. It doesn't mean that Islam prohibits us from following the scientific ways. No, Islam encourages that. It means that in the matters of the Sharia rules, we follow the Sharia of Islam. The Sharia rules are not subject to science and scientific development and astronomical calculations. The Sharia rules are subject to the evidence from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In its area, Muslims are actually required to excel in science, excel in engineering, be the leaders in that regard. But when it comes to the rules of Sharia, stick to what the Sharia says. I'll give you another example. A woman, when she is divorced, she has to wait for 3 periods, right? 3 periods. Meaning that she has to wait until she menstruates 3 times, and then she can get married if she wants to, right? 3 periods, which could be 3 months or a little bit more, right? If you ask some of the contemporaries, why should the woman wait? They will answer you, well, to make sure, right, that she's not pregnant from her previous husband. Because she does not want her to get married to a new husband, right, while she is pregnant from the previous husband. So how to make sure that I'm not saying that this is the case, but this is what you hear people say. Then I'll tell him, okay, we can go to science and medicine, and we can prove on the spot, after she gets divorced from the first husband, that this woman is not pregnant. Does she have to wait for the 3 periods, or she can marry right away? She has to wait for the 3 periods. Why? Because this is what the Sharia says. So the Sharia is not a subject of what science says, or what astronomy says, or what technology says. No. The Sharia goes back. There's a reality in front of us. We understand the reality, and then we go back to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Muhammad and we extract a ruling that addresses that reality. We extract a ruling from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Muhammad and the Aqwal Fuqaha. The Fuqaha, all of them, all their statements This is what we call ikhtilaf al-maqali', and this is also a respected opinion because it's a Shari'i opinion that is based on certain understanding of the Sunnah of Muhammad. This was actually the opinion of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, you know the hadith of Qurayb. Qurayb used to be a servant of al-Fadl, the sister of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Al-Fadl sent Qurayb to the Sham area to get something. He observed the beginning of Ramadan, okay, the night of Friday. So the night of Friday in Sham, he observed that Ramadan started in Sham. Then he traveled all the way back to Medina, of course, it took him like a month. Okay? When he traveled all the way back to Medina, according to him, the count of 30 is tomorrow. Meaning that by tomorrow, you know, it will be the end of Ramadan. He said that to Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas said, no, we do not observe the moon on the night of Friday, we observe it the night after. So we keep on fasting until we finish 30 days or until we observe or we sight the moon. So the ulama said that Ibn Abbas then was holding the opinion of the difference of citations because he did not take the citation of the Sham area. He basically abided by the citation of the Medina. So that's that, and then Ibn Abbas said, this is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Now the ulama, the fuqaha, interpreted that statement of Ibn Abbas by saying that this is the understanding of Ibn Abbas of the Sunnah. It's his understanding. Other ulama disagreed with his understanding, not other Sahaba disagreed with his understanding. Because Ibn Abbas is a Sahabi and he's a mujtahid. But other Sahaba also disagreed, and that's why we have 3 out of 4. And they say no. You know, 3 out of 4, Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Ahmad, they say no. Global citing, sorry. If any Muslim all over the globe saw the Hilal, it's, you know, the whole messed up effects. And this is really the real sense of unity, you know, between the women.
And you say that to be in a Muslim country, from a Muslim country?
No. Muslims all over the globe, we included, people who are living in the West are included. It's not Saudi Arabia, it's not Pakistan. It should be, you know, Muslim side of anyone, first one to report. I saw them. If he's credible, witness, then take his testimony, we can't reject it. It's hard to reject his testimony. We start on. We do not say to him, well, what calculations say it's impossible to see them. Do not say that. But this is what the people say. They reject the testimony. The Prophet ﷺ used to accept the testimony. Why? Because the hadith we just mentioned. It's no matter. When the Muslim Ummah decide to fast, this will be the first day of Ramadan, by definition. When the Muslim Ummah decide to break the fasting, this will be the end of Ramadan, by definition. Even if a mistake was made, it doesn't matter. How great is that? How simple is that? And why we always fight about it? We should fight about it. Yes, sir.
This question is about the sahur.
Yes.
If you work at 6 o'clock in the morning
Yes.
and you want to be fun prayer, can you have your sahur as long as like 1 o'clock?
Yes, you can. The sunnah though is to delay the sahur as much as you can. But if you cannot do so because of your work, you want to have an sahur, that's fine. You know? But the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to delay sahur as much as you can. Yes. Any other questions?
You said this is you know, Islam really declared Mahdi the first Ramadan, the celebration of the people on this Ramadan. So what is your opinion there?
As I said, Muslims should not abandon the practice and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ of citing them. They should not be abandoned. You want to put together like a calendar in advance because you want to show the world that you are civilized. We know when our Ramadan begins. They are, Islam, unfortunately, they are intimidating. The Muslim Ummah is unique. not mean that you have to follow the footsteps of others. We have our own unique system. This is what makes us unique. Our unique system is that we fast when we see the moon. That's it. That's our unique system. You know? Islam would say, oh, but we feel embarrassed and tell our boss or our, headmaster of the school or whatever that we do not know whether it's going to be Friday or Saturday. They feel embarrassed. They feel intimidated. Because they are going to laugh. Let them laugh. They are not the ones who define the standards. We define the standards. We are the Muslim women. We are the women that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed by being women Muslim. That's our system. If he wants to laugh, let him laugh. Okay, I can tell him what could be Friday, it could be Saturday. And if it comes, it could be Sunday, it could be Sunday, it could be Monday. If it comes Monday, I'll take another day off. It's not the end of the world. We should not be intimidated and, by these things. So, what this is doing, in my opinion, is they are going against the Sunnah of the Prophet. They can follow a calendar if you